Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and just like a Tesla, I have recharged my batteries, and so I am ready to go for another season. We're going to actually have a change. Instead of Orlando and Landry, we've got Ryan and Landry that are going to be doing the high school spotlight. I'm going to have Riley Price, the Greyhound baseball coach, Kira Zeider and Andrea Klein from Greyhound softball. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound track and field got off to a good start with the indoor portion of their season. They competed in the Corky Classic at Texas Tech University. Mercy Rodich with the best finish for a Greyhound lady as she finished third in the mile. Ivar Monat finished second in the 800. Greyhound men's basketball last weekend lost two heartbreakers, 2 points to Lubbock Christian, 4 points to Angelo State. Greyhound ladies lost by 10 to Angelo State, but before that, on Thursday night last week, they beat Lubbock Christian University, the number 2 team in the nation, by 1 point. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and I'll bring in my first guest, Riley Price, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we welcome to the set of Sportslook for the very first time the head coach of Greyhound baseball, Riley Price. And Coach, welcome to Sportslook.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, first and foremost, where are you from and how did you get to be the head coach of the Greyhound baseball squad?
I'm from Barrington, Kansas, small town just south of Topeka, Kansas.
And what was baseball always your sport growing up, or did you gradually gravitate towards it?
I played all sports growing up. Baseball just ended up being the best one. Kind of undersized. I was a late bloomer. Some of my players till this day look older than I do. I think I have a kind of a facial hair deficiency. They like to give me a hard time about it, but so no, baseball's definitely been what has led me into where I'm at. Yeah.
What position did you play?
I played a little bit of everything. Right out of high school, I was getting recruited as a pitcher and a third baseman. But due to some arm problems, tore my labrum in high school, and so from then on, I just hitting had to lead the way for me, and so basically every team I played on throughout college just kind of found a way to put me in the lineup because of my bat.
And at what age did you realize that you wanted to have a career associated with baseball?
Late, actually. In junior college, I was like, what do I want to major in, at the next level, and it was kind of a question that, I had to think really hard about. I didn't really have something specific that I wanted to go into. I knew I loved sports. I knew I loved helping people and impacting the lives of others. And so I was like, maybe a teacher, maybe a coach, maybe a counselor. And, what I come to quickly realize is that God put me in a position to coach. And then I realized that, you get to do all three. And so it just that's kind of how it went, and I fell in love with it. It is kind of a natural calling for me. Got my first head coaching job at 23 on a collegiate summer team, and did really well. And I fell in love with it, and so it's been that way ever since.
Who were the big influences on you in terms of your baseball? Who, a coach or a parent or a relative?
Definitely my dad. I grew up around baseball. We actually played at two of the same colleges, and actually for two of the same coaches, which is pretty odd considering he's, sorry Dad, 56. But he's always had me around baseball, and because he played collegiately too, it helped me learn the game at a higher level, I feel like, and so that really helped me. Other than him, it's been a kind of an accumulation of all different types of coaches in different places that I've played at as a player, different places that I've coached at. I've kind of been all around the country, and so by learning from the good and the bad from all those different coaches has kind of helped me form my philosophy and how I go about things.
How different was it being on the foul side of the field in the third base box or in the coaching, the dugout, as opposed to being on the field?
It's definitely different, and I think that's what kind of threw me for a loop. My first head coaching job at the collegiate level was I was like, it's not that hard. I've been playing this game my whole life. And then when you get to see it in a different light and a different perspective, it's definitely difficult. And so, when our players think that they, think they know a call or think they want to do something, I say, okay, well, put yourself in a coach's shoes and look at it this way. And they're like, oh, wait, it's not that easy. So it's definitely difficult. But again, if you've been growing up around baseball your whole life, it kind of comes back to you.
When the job opened up here at Eastern, what was intriguing enough about it that made you want to apply for it?
Well, number one, it got me out of the cold. I was at Minot State University, and it snowed on our way to our conference tournament in late May. And I think it was below 0 degrees for an entire month. And so that was a little difficult. I tell people my eyelids froze shut at one point, and it kind of freaked me out. I was like, what in the heck is going on? But, just and the second reason being that this is the best Division II conference in the United States, easily. I truly believe that, up and down, and especially now that we've added those Heartland Conference teams, it's made it even more competitive. And so, being back south and being in the Lone Star Conference is a huge reason.
Coach, obviously you're not a one-person show. Who have you brought in to assist you this year?
Well, they've been a tremendous help. I didn't have that long. I got hired pretty late, and reached out to a lot of different people to see who was maybe looking for a job. And I talked to a head coach at my former college at Allen County, and he gave me a name, Jacob Gall. And first time I talked to him on the phone, I loved what I heard. He's got the pitching knowledge that our guys need, and he's really stepped into his own here at the D2 level. He had been at the junior college and NAI for a few years, but he stepped in right away, and our guys have seen huge progress with their velocities, and it's been great to see. So, I give him pretty much full autonomy of the pitching program, and he's really starting to develop my trust with that. And our graduate assistant is Chris Browning, and I actually coached his brother at Angelo State, Shane Browning, and so he's a pitcher there. But he's been doing a great job, fresh out of college, and he's really learned a lot fast, which has been awesome. And they're both extremely loyal, and that's what's number one to me. But I couldn't ask for better two assistants than I have now.
In terms of what you inherited, what was the strength of what you inherited from last year? What is the glaring weakness? It's like we got to shore up this position pretty fast.
Strengths, I think it's been a strength here at ENMU for ever since I've been at Angelo, which was 3 or 4 years ago, and they've always been fighters. They've always had that grit to them. That they never give up. They always play hard, and they're just going to go get you. And in baseball, we like to use the term dirtbag. To the rest of the world, it might mean something else, but in baseball, you want a bunch of dirtbags on your team, and that means they go hard. They're just fighters, and they don't want to give up, and they have that determination. And so that's one positive that I was excited when I took the job, because I knew I was going to get that. Because when I was at Angelo State, they'd probably never admit it, but we didn't like playing Eastern. We didn't. And you saw what they did my last year that I was there. They knocked us out of the conference tournament, and it was for that very reason, is the fact that they had more heart, and they were fighters, and so that's always going to be a positive here. And along with that, we have 3 returning starters who will be pretty good, that have made some really good jumps. Ethan Coombs being one of those guys that probably topped out at 85 last year and has worked his butt off this fall, and just the other day in the bullpen was 88 to 93. So we're excited to see him come into his own, and we have 2 more years with him after that. So I think the sky's the limit for him, as well as a few more seniors that have really stepped up.
If there's one thing that you've done the most amount of time working on, what needed the most improvement?
Probably facilities as far as time-wise. We really wanted to take pride in our facilities, and we've pretty much remodeled everything here. I thought the side fencing was kind of an eyesore. The infield had some serious issues as far as the rocks and the dirt and things like that, so we completely replaced it. Bullpens, they were pretty much pitching on flat grounds last year, so we completely built those. We added turf to the bullpen areas on both sides. I could go on and on. It's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun seeing this place, start to look really good. So.
Well, it's hard to believe, but you're going to start playing baseball games that count in the won-loss column next weekend.
Right.
You're going to be, and the way it works is that there are no non-conference games. Everything, from what I understand, is Lone Star Conference?
Yep. Yes, sir, it is. Yeah, it's going to be challenging. Like I said, there's not a weak team in the conference, and especially with us coming from 3 conference wins last year. I hope these guys, come with a chip on their shoulder and ready to get after it. And I think if we do that and we play how we've played this fall, and we keep progressing and getting better, I think we're really going to surprise some people if we put all facets together.
Well, Coach, congratulations on getting the job. Best of luck, and can't wait to start broadcasting some of your games.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doc. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment. So what we'll do is we'll clear the set and we'll cue up a high school spotlight right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to another semester of High School Spotlight. I'm Landry Widener.
And I'm Ryan Schrader, back for one more semester.
This semester is going to feature a lot of basketball, and we're both really excited for some more high school sports.
This week we got to go to our first game, which was the Fort Sumner Vixens versus the Clovis Christian Lady Eagles over in Clovis. It was a hard-fought game for both teams.
Let's jump right into those highlights. The Vixens will get it going with a passing offense, and there they find number 23 Megan Oberg in the gap, and she gets the open 15-footer.
Here we see Megan Oberg kick it underneath to Keely West, who sidesteps her defender to put it up and in for the Vixens.
Here's Avery Cavett pushing the ball down the court, and she gets the nice one-handed assist to Casey Soltemeyer, who puts it up for 2.
Here's our first Lady Eagle play of the night. Sophie Garbarino brings it down, gets it to Lola DeGroot at the top of the key. She'll turn around and pump fake, then hit her defender with a step back, creating space and sinking the 3-ball for the Lady Eagles.
The Vixens offense sets them up again as a few passes find Rayanne Williamson under the bucket, and she'll get the easy one off the backboard. This puts Fort Sumner up by 15 at the end of the first.
DeGroot showing out tonight, coming up with the steal and then taking it down the other way, laying it up to lessen Fort Sumner's lead.
Vixens now looking to get it going, and they do. There's West with a 3 off the glass. This makes it a 12-point Fort Sumner lead going into halftime. Starting off the second half, there's Jordan Wilton, who finds West down below and over the defender for 2.
Vixens here again. Emily Mack finds Abby Moyer open underneath. Moyer puts it up and in, drawing the foul and a chance for a 3-point play. Vixens putting on a passing clinic here, getting it to Emily Mack open on the 3-point line. She'll put up the virtually uncontested shot and sink it, adding to her team's lead.
The Eagles get their inbounds play going and find DeGroot under the basket and does a good job facing the defender and getting the contested bucket. The score going into the fourth is 43-21 Vixens.
Here come the Lady Eagles to start the fourth quarter. Garbarino finds DeGroot again, and she'll move her way around her defender and into the paint, putting in the heavily contested shot.
Here we see a nice hesitation from Garbarino, and she gets the short jumper, the Eagles responding once again.
Vixens on the other end once again going for the 3-ball. Soltemeyer puts up the 20-footer and nails it.
The Eagles making a last effort here as Garbarino crosses over and pulls up another short jumper in the lane. However, it's not enough as the Vixens come away with the win, 53-32.
And now let's take a look at the rankings. Starting off with 1A girls, we've got Logan sitting at number 1, followed by Melrose, Fort Sumner, Gateway Christian, and Pine Hill.
Moving right along to Class 2A, Penasco is sitting in the 1 spot, followed by Mescalero Apache, Pecos, Newcomb, and Lordsburg.
In 3A, Navajo Prep takes the top spot, followed by Tohatchee, Tularosa, Santa Fe Indian, and Socorro.
And in 4A, we have Los Lunas sitting in the 1 spot, followed by Bernalillo, Kirtland Central, Gallup, and Goddard.
And in 5A girls, Piedra Vista takes their first loss, dropping them to number 2 and putting the Hobbs Lady Eagles up at number 1. At number 3, we've got Centennial, followed by Mayfield and Carlsbad.
And now for the boys' rankings. In Class A, Melrose is sitting in the 1 spot, followed by Elida, Springer, Maxwell, and Logan.
And in 2A, we've got no surprise, 3-time defending state champion Pecos taking the top spot, followed by Magdalena, Santa Rosa, and Texaco.
And now for Class 3A, Bosque is sitting in the 1 spot at an 11-1 record, followed by Robertson, Hot Springs, Sandia Prep, and St. Michael's.
And in 4A, we've got the Valley Vikings taking the top spot, followed by Hope Christian, Albuquerque Academy, Highland, and Artesia.
And finally, moving on to 5A, Cleveland is sitting in the 1 spot with an undefeated 17-0 record. They're followed by Las Cruces in the 2, Volcano Vista in the 3, El Dorado in the 4, and Capital in the 5.
Thanks for watching High School Spotlight.
Before we throw it back to Doc, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates, photos, and highlights.
Once again, I'm Ryan Schrader,
And I'm Landry Widener.
and we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Sportslook, and we bring to the set of Sportslook what I like to call coach and catcher. We've got Coach Kira Zeider, we've got catcher Andrea Klein, and ladies, welcome to Sportslook.
Thank you for having us here.
Well, Coach, you are no stranger to this now. You've been the coach at Eastern New Mexico University. In some ways, is it still the same job as when you got it? In what ways is it different this year?
It is definitely still the same job. I think what I'm just really looking forward to is seeing all the hard work over the past year paying off. And, it's been a lot of recruiting. It's been a lot of hours at the field and building the program up to what we think it can be and what we want it to be. And so now we're looking forward to seeing the payoff of that.
And now that it's been a year since the season, well, almost 9 months technically, what was the highlight of that season for you?
I would say probably sweeping a few weekends. I know that it was the first time the program had ever had a sweep against Texas women's. And so that was a huge accomplishment for the program. And it's just really nice to see the satisfaction of, the student athletes and all their hard work paying off on game day.
Well, Andrea, you are a catcher on the Greyhound softball team. And where are you from, and what was the process that got you to Eastern New Mexico University?
I'm from San Pedro, California, by Long Beach, as people know more. I played my freshman year at Los Angeles Harbor College, and then I played my sophomore year at Arizona Western College, and I received my AA there, Associate of Arts, and I got recruited by Coach Zeider to come to Eastern.
So you've been gradually working your way eastward.
Yes.
What was it about Coach Zeider? What made you want to come and play softball for her?
I think that I saw her drive to help the program succeed. She got it on such short notice, and she made a difference for the girls a lot, I felt like. So.
And Coach, in what ways is the squad different this year? In what ways is the squad the same?
There's a lot of new faces. So we have a roster of 25 and 18 new faces.
Wow.
So it's going to be a task for the first few home games, I'm sure, for a lot of fans to get to just to know the names and the faces of our new student athletes that have joined the program this year.
And how about assisting you?
Oh, absolutely. We have a new assistant coach, Taylor Rushing, and she comes to us via school in Colorado, but she's originally from Texas. So, and then back is Erica Burke, who was our graduate assistant last year as well. So some familiarity there. A lot of people already know her from playing on the Greyhound softball program.
And how are the three of you dividing up the coaching responsibilities?
Right. Well, it's been very nice for me because we've been able to do that. Gives them a lot of, the student athletes a lot of individual attention. So Coach Rushing works with the pitchers and the catchers specifically. And Coach Burke works with the infielders and hitting, and then I work with the outfield.
Well, Andrea, let's go back to you. And was softball always your sport, or did you consider many and finally decide on softball?
Softball for sure had to be my sport always. I know that my parents tried to put me in basketball, but that didn't really work out.
You were telling me an interesting story that you cried every day in
Yeah,
practice.
until they put me in softball.
Well, was catching always your position?
Yeah, my older sister was a catcher, so I wanted to be just like her, so I followed in her footsteps.
What is, if you had to do a scouting report on Andrea Klein, if you were another team looking at you, what do you think that they would say about you as a player?
They would probably have to say that I take the game very seriously. I don't like joke on the field. I probably don't look nice on the field. And that to probably throw me strategically. Don't miss a pitch.
I was just going to say, so if you could ask a pitcher, because in the original days of baseball, batters actually got to ask for a certain type of pitch. If you had that luxury, what pitch would you ask for?
A rise ball that doesn't break.
A rise ball that doesn't break. You
Anything
could hit
high.
that one. There you go. In terms of your catching ability, do you think that you're better in terms of like framing a pitch? Do you have an arm? I mean, or are you a combination of both?
I think it's pretty even. I enjoy framing a lot, making my pitcher look good, getting strikes called for my pitcher for sure.
Well, Kira, let's go back to you and talk about the season that's going to be taking place. It's still the Lone Star Conference, but it's a much different Lone Star Conference you're going to be competing in this year.
Sure. It was already the Goliath, basically, of Division II softball, and now it's even more so. So there's 17 teams now, and it's definitely a competitive conference, which is why a lot of times if you win our conference, you have a great chance of winning the entire national championship.
What has it done in terms of scheduling difference?
Well, every weekend we now play 2 different teams with a day off in between. So that's a change for the fans coming to watch us play. They get to see 2 different teams.
I was not aware of that. So how is that for what day is going to be the off day?
Well, we'll either play Friday, Sunday with Saturday being the off day, or Thursday, Saturday with Friday being the off day.
And that makes sense now that I think about it, because we have some religiously affiliated schools, so they probably would prefer not to play on Sunday for that reason.
It's probably why it's split. You know, halfway through the season, it switches from the first to the second scenario.
Wow. Okay. And the great thing about being at Eastern New Mexico University now in terms of softball, as opposed to a few years ago, is if you want to play a game under the lights, you've got lights.
Absolutely. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm sure that the team really enjoys it, and with this type of scheduling, it gives us the opportunity to the first set of games to play under the lights, and then the second set of the games to play during the day.
And what improvements what are you most proud of in terms of what Greyhound Field is going to be this year as opposed to what it was a few years ago?
I think the way that our program expects to win on game day rather than hoping to win. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing this year, and hopefully the fans will see that as well on game day.
Well, Andrea, let's go back to you. You are a student athlete. We've talked about the athletic part of it. Let's talk about the student component. What are you majoring in?
I'm majoring in physical education with emphasis in sports recreational management.
And what do you hope to do with your degree?
Well, I figure that I will try to be a graduate assistant coach somewhere to help get my master's degree after I graduate with my bachelor's. And then I hope to go on to be an assistant or a head coach somewhere, and eventually make my way up into the sports management, like administration field, or somewhere within like a sports athletic director, probably somewhere in there.
And in terms of your fall semester at Eastern New Mexico University, if you had to put your finger on one particular course, what was your favorite course from the fall semester?
My favorite course had to be my creative writing class.
Who is your professor?
Professor Michael Reza. Yeah, he's a very good teacher, because not that I struggle academically, but I've always been more of an athlete, and he made me think out of the box for sure, writing ability-wise.
Very good.
Yeah.
And Coach, let's get to a very important factoid for everybody that's watching this program. When will be the first chance that we'll get to watch your ladies play at Greyhound Field?
First thing in March
6th.
that first weekend.
So you're playing a lot of road games, I take it, before you get to play here?
We are. We'll be on the road for 4 weekends before we're actually here at home. So we'll go to up to New Mexico Highlands, Lubbock twice, and Arizona.
With which you have some familiarity.
I do, and so do some of the players on the team. A lot of us are.
Yeah.
There's 5 of us from Tucson, which is where the tournament is, and it's turned into a premier D2 tournament in the Southwest. So it should be a great trip. I know they're all looking forward to it already.
Well, ladies, I wish you the very best of luck in the month of February, and I can't wait to actually see you in action in March.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sportslook. So what we'll do is we'll clear the set, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Back in 2014, a number of you might have thought that when the San Antonio Spurs hired Becky Hammon to be an assistant coach, that it was a well-intentioned publicity stunt. You might want to rethink that assumption based on something that happened earlier this week. The San Antonio Spurs were playing against the Miami Heat. Late in the game, the Spurs were nursing a slim lead. A guy from the Heat took the ball to the hoop, got fouled, made a basket. Referee said, count the basket, put him on the line one time. Greg Popovich, not amused by the call, but he was ready to just let it go. But Becky Hammon came over from her assistant seat and said, Coach, there's a new rule in the NBA right now that allows you to challenge that call in the last 2 minutes of the game. I think that was a bad call. Popovich, at first, you could tell, was going to just dismiss it, but he listened and he said, oh, worth a shot. So he protested the call. They reviewed it, and they found out, looking at the film, that clearly the guy had gotten fouled way before he shot the ball. So instead of a basket and a free throw, just 2 free throws, and San Antonio wound up winning the game because of Becky Hammon's great decision. So I wouldn't be surprised sometime in the future to see Becky Hammon move from the second chair on an NBA bench to the first chair. Well, that is going to wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sports Look. I'd like to thank my guests, Riley Price from Greyhound Baseball, Kira Zeider, and Andrea Klein from softball. I'd like to thank Ryan and Landry for the high school spotlight. Had a new floor director, Ms. Claire, doing a great job for me tonight. So for all those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.
If you want to catch the full episode of Sportslook, head over to our YouTube channel.
Once again, I'm Landry Widener,
And I'm Ryan Schrader.
and we'll see you next week. Bingo.